What's up, people? Shout out to each and every one of you guys out there. We're going to just read a little bit from the word. In the background, there is me again. That's the same computer showing myself right there. That's pretty cool. Matthew 21. When they drew near to Jerusalem and came to Bethphage on the Mount of Olives, then Jesus sent two of his disciples, saying to them, "Go into a village over against you, and you will find a ass tied, a colt with her. Loose them and bring them to me. If any man says anything to you, you shall say, The Lord has need of them, and straightway they will be sent with you." All this was done that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet, saying, "Tell ye the daughter of Zion, Behold, your king cometh unto you meek and sitting upon an ass, and a colt foal of an ass." And the disciples went and did as Jesus commanded them, and brought the ass and colt, and put on them clothes, and set him thereon. And a great multitude spread their garments in the way. Others cut down branches from trees and strawed them in the way. And the multitudes that went before and followed cried, saying, Hosanna to the Son of David. Blessed is he that comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest. And when he was come to Jerusalem, all the city was moved, and said, Who is this? And the multitude said, This is Jesus, prophet of Nazareth of Galilee. All right, so Jesus prophetically told them, Go this place, you'll see these animals there. Anybody asks you anything, just say the Lord has need of them, and then go away with them. It's crazy, because, again, this is prophetically spoken. Jesus is nowhere in the vicinity of those things. And he's giving them specific instructions. And this tells us how God is in control of things. And not only God, but when you get close to God, you are able to, in detail, understand his directions to you, and so therefore proceed in a very detailed manner. So I hope that blesses you guys today as we continue. So I want to talk to you guys about my best comic book movies for 2018. I'm going straight into screen share here. Okay, and in front of me is all of the comic book movies for 2018. We had basically 10 comic book movies for 2018. So let's get into it. Amazingly, I don't see Bumblebee there. Bumblebee should be a comic book movie. Apparently not. Transformers is a comic book. Nonetheless, we have Black Panther here. That is one of, in my opinion, the best comic book movies of this year. At least for me. The next one is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I thought this was an excellent comic book movie. And the final one is Aquaman. Now, how do I rate them, in what order? So, if we got to put these things in order, as you know, Black Panther and Aquaman were my most anticipated movies until I heard about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse very recently, actually, and I was like, I'm going to the cinema to see that. Okay, so what order do I put these movies in? And of course, you can always tell me your pick as to your best comic book movies for 2018. And you can put it in the chat section if you so wish, or you can put it in the comment section after this stream is done. It's up to you. But how am I going to put these movies in some sort of order? Well, how I'm going to organize these movies so that they're in order is I look at content, I look at entertainment factor, I look at, story. So if you look at these three movies here, Aquaman, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and Black Panther, let's start with the different stories. Black Panther was not about T'Challa necessarily coming of age per se, but it's more about T'Challa deciding not to follow certain traditions that the Black Panther had before. Also, because he is taken down. It's interesting watching at the family cope without T'Challa in the picture, and then the reemergence of T'Challa, if you want the rebirth of him, and how he claims back the throne is quite interesting and intriguing. But I think the bigger issues and the bigger, you know, uh, the bigger issues that this story sought to address was, nationalism versus, uh, multinationalism. That is to say, not being in isolation and hiding yourself, but instead sharing with the world. I also thought that it was beautiful how they dealt with the refugee crisis. This movie actually addressed that, and not just on the end of Wakanda being a site for refuge, but also that the people in Wakanda ended up being refugees in that movie, The Royal Blood. I thought it was very interesting. This movie addressed a number of other things, such as it addressed sometimes that we need to break with tradition and actually do something better. And I thought that was beautiful. I also looked at the family drama. Killmonger being the son of a murdered parent, and this was concealed, and so T'Challa ended up having to be himself, not necessarily right or wrong, but he ends up doing that, but be himself in the process of the movie. And so there are those different things that I saw in Black Panther, which I think puts it a step ahead in terms of content and just thematically ahead of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Aquaman. So story-wise, I think Black Panther has a much more emotionally grounded story that has some cultural relevance. Now, Aquaman does have some cultural relevance. So Aquaman is based on, again, as they call them, half breeds or mixed race people, and we see how pure bloods or purebred race people treat mixed race people. So I thought it was very interesting the dynamic between Orm and Aquaman. It also had family drama where you know Atlanta comes back, and both Orm and Arthur are able to interface with her. And so that's a very intriguing moment. The story also has an overarching story that has to do with Arthur coming of age and Orm, because Orm is about to exact revenge on the surface world. And there's some interesting things that happen in Aquaman. Character-wise, which impressed me. Black Manta, some could say, is a victim of circumstance. I don't think so, but that's what some people would say. Uh, some people would say that Orm is also a victim. We've seen the origins of Orm, Aquaman, and Black Manta. I personally enjoyed the movie, but thematically speaking, it's not a lot more to this movie, except I think where Mira sacrifices all for something that her heart's not even into because it's the right thing to do. I thought that was very interesting. So there are a number of different subtle themes there. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse doesn't also have a lot of, story-wise, it doesn't have a lot of plot. Spider-Man Into Spider-Verse is basically about Miles um, Morales and the fact that he has to release everything, let go of everything, his fears, to become Spider-Man. In the process, he learns of pain and sadness. His family member was deceased, and he knows that they're deceased. Kingpin kills the person, but it'll look like Spider-Man did it. And I like that Miles Morales, he has to grow as a person, even though there's a team of Spider-Man around him. He has to grow as his own person, and he makes it out of the struggle, because of that. Um, but it was still spectacularly theatrical, beautiful work, and beautiful animation. It intrigued me quite a lot. So Spider-Man into Spider-Verse, that's the storyline there. So those are the three storylines. Of course, the most elaborate storyline, the best storyline is Black Panther, which I'm showing you right here. In terms of storyline, I think that Aquaman has somewhat of a much more elaborate storyline than Spider-Man into Spider-Verse, as amazing as that sounds. Third act for all three movies. Black Panther's third act is soft and weak. Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse has a strong ending, as well as Aquaman. These two taking that position. Now, in terms of visuals, Aquaman and Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, they beat back Black Panther. And in terms of emotional weight, I think that both Spider-Man into Spider-Verse and Black Panther have emotional weight in them. However, Aquaman is not really a funny movie. So Spider-Man into Spider-Verse dealt with humor and then emotional weight, as if with Black Panther. Aquaman's a little bit different. Aquaman doesn't really deal with humor, even though there's a humor by the director and his group. But Aquaman doesn't play around with that stuff, you know what I mean? So, three the three best movies, or at least my favorite movies of 2018, are in the following order. Number three on the list is Black Panther, then Aquaman, then Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. Let me tell you why. Black Panther had a weak third act. Great, reasonably good script. There's some cringy stuff and some cringy humor that I wasn't really into. But dang good film. Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse comes second only to Black Panther. I'm sorry, only to Aquaman. So, and the reason that is so is because Aquaman is just phenomenal itself and it's live action, whereas Spider-Man into Spider-Verse is it's animation. So I love animation, but I really like live action over animation because it shows it can translate to our world. So number three is once again Black Panther. Number two, Spider-Man into Spider-Verse. And number one is Aquaman. Those are my top comic book movies of 2018. What do you have? What are your top comic book movies of 2018? Let's talk. Or we don't have to talk. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. I just hope and pray for the best. You guys have a great day. All right. So that's basically it. As